We made this.
CHUCKYVISION, the podcast about the TV series Chucky and everything surrounding it, from the films to comics to tenuously linked things that we just want to look at. This is CHUCKYVISION. My name is Mark Adams and I am your host today, and alongside me is my co-host, as always, Dev Elson. Hello, Dev.
This episode was crazy.
Yes, it was. We're looking at Chucky Season 3, Episode 4, which up until moments ago when we actually looked on the internet, we thought was called Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. It wasn't. It was called Dressed to Kill. I'm a bit disappointed.
Yeah, I just, not to go into that too much, because we don't know the answers, but was that a recent change? Because I know that the titles for Season 3, it was a mix of predictions / leaked, and then they were accurate. Like, the first 3 were accurate, but then, they obviously changed this one for some reason.
Wasn't there a switch as well? Wasn't there something like, the second one was supposed to be Jennifer's body, and then that became the third one?
Ah, yeah. Obviously, that leak was early information, and some things have changed.
And I think, the obvious joke, I think we even touched on it when we did our previews of Series 3. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is a poke at the fact that Halloween 3 was called Season of the Witch when they were trying to make Halloween an anthology series rather than just Michael Myers. And, yeah, it was a film about evil masks.
And Stonehenge.
But there weren't any evil masks in this, so perhaps that's why they dropped it.
They could have gone that way. I can't believe we never put that together. Where last episode, when we talked about what if they went into other deities and stuff, like Odin and whatnot. What if Chucky started worshipping Stonehenge?
True. I suppose, there was an evil mask because Chucky was wearing a mask, but it wasn't about evil masks, really.
They were just like, we are officially merging into the Halloween universe, specifically free.
So, Dressed to Kill does make more sense. And this is the 4th episode of Season 3, and it is the end of the first half of the season because we are having to pause due to the fact there's only 2 episodes of 4 that have been recorded due to the Actors Guild strike. And I just want to say again, as much as this is, disappointing and we'd like more Chucky, we very much support the actors and feel that they should get the deal that they deserve. And that means we don't know when we're next doing episodes on the teleseries. But we have got plans. We've got stuff planned for November and December this year. So don't worry, CHUCKYVISION's going nowhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, Season 3, Episode 4, Dressed to Kill. This was directed by Jeff Renfro. And the writers were Dom Mancini, Rachel Paredes, and Catherine Shatina. And yeah, it all gives us the previously on fucking Chucky, as we know, and we're greeted by Price and the president's wife, and he's so great in his evil, isn't he?
Well, the very first note I made was on the TV report of activities in the White House, and we get to see Joseph, which was kind of an odd sensation, because I was like, I didn't think we were ever going to see him, because he was just a thing of the past. I'd never noticed up until now that they had never even, shown a picture of him. Just, in a frame, on someone's bedside. We'd never even seen him. But then we got to see him. And as soon as that happened, I was like, hang on. They've been talking about ghosts this whole season. Are we going to get to see Joseph? If they're going to put an actor to Joseph.
Yeah. Maybe we will. We didn't in this episode, but maybe we will.
maybe not a ghost, but I think that was the same actor later. But then I don't know if that was a ghost. There might have been something else, but we're already jumping out, and it's just like the first second.
Yes, indeed. I really liked the Phantom mask. How cool was that? And really clever to hide his oldness as well.
Yeah, that was really clever. That's such a really good example of so much of Chucky, where it's a silly idea, and then they're like, no, hang on, what if we actually do something with it? And it's, really clever. And it pays off. It could have just been any costume, but the fact that it's the Phantom, this is actually set up to a really good payoff way later.
Exactly that. I think particularly with the Phantom mask, I don't know whether it made it easier for the animatronics or not, but the eyes look even more creepy and the mouth works really, really well. And that nasty little smile that we've seen him do a couple of times now looks ever slightly more different. And yeah, it's really good, isn't it?
Yeah, they're doing a really good job with the smile. Like, he's a creepy guy at the moment. He's going through something. That little bit when... it's typical Chucky when he says he's going to need a really big knife. That's the Chucky we've seen before. But then he does that really creepy little, almost like a wheeze laugh, where he's like, Like, I don't think we've ever heard Chucky make that kind of laugh before. It's so unnerving.
Yeah, it's very good, isn't it?
And speaking of unnerved, I love that we've not really seen much of Devon Sawa in this season so far, but whenever he's on screen, he is looking more and more... Like, every time he talks to his kid, you just see the gears turning in his head, like, what the fuck is my kid on about?
Yeah. So the credits are voodoo dolls, and one of them had a cigarette. I noticed that before we found out what happened later on in the episode. I was like, why has one of them got a fucking cigarette? And we found out.
That was a really clever one, because the last couple we've had were good, but they were based directly on something we saw in the first opening minutes.
Yes, very right, yeah. But this one I was like, why voodoo dolls? And then obviously, about 20 minutes in, we found out why voodoo dolls.
Yeah, it was a really clever little setup to a lot of setups in this episode.
And talking about that, I wasn't expecting to see Jennifer Tilly in this episode. I thought that they would park that storyline for a episode. And very much not.
Yeah, to get into the writing side of things, yeah, I imagine she was always in this episode. I don't think they would have switched things around from like episode 5 into episode 4 to make this a bigger mid-season finale. That would have been way too much writing. I know they had to get all 8 episodes done before the strike started, and so they probably weren't writing and then also rewriting. I imagine Tiffany was always in episode 4. And yeah, episode 4 is a really big episode then. I can't imagine how big part 2 is going to be.
It's landed really well. And I think maybe that's why they paused it here, because perhaps if they'd paused at 5 or 6, it may not have had quite the dramatic cliffhanger. It wouldn't have felt like the right place to pause on either of those episodes. Or... like we said before, a 4-4 split makes sense as well. But it does feel like it's a good place to stop.
Yeah. A lot of things, it's a huge episode where a lot of things are happening, but there's also a lot of longer setups for the rest of season 3. And we're getting the start of the prison arc here. We didn't know how long Jennifer was going to be on the run, how her story was going to play out exactly episode by episode. But yeah, it seems like the prison arc is starting now, which from interviews, I've read a couple more interviews with Don, and he basically said that he really loves those camp 60s and 70s prison, all female prison movies. And so this is his tribute to those. And it makes sense,
Amazing.
The idea of Tiffany Valentine in prison. Of course she'd be the boss bitch, wouldn't she?
Yeah. And we're introduced to Dorset, a new character, her prison guard that's allocated to her. And I liked how Dorset was kind of a stereotype, but also kind of weirdly likeable. They did a really good job in establishing her in this scene, I thought.
It works, because as much as we love Tiffany... we want that conflict that brings out the best of Tiffany or the worst in Tiffany. And so Dorset is a really good character because she is doing her part as the person there, as the security guard, but she's got some personality. The actress is giving it some oomph, which is really nice. And also, just the dialogue here, it's not completely dry. It helps elucidate a question that we were asking of why she was in Texas. Apparently, she killed some people in Texas. I'm not exactly sure when, in which movie or in the show, but it makes sense that if she had killed people in Texas, then they could have gotten her extradited from New York to Texas. I imagine in any other case, New York and Jersey would have argued to do it there, but then she killed 103 people, so I imagine every state government was like, oh, fuck it, whatever, give her the death sentence.
Yeah, and we now know that she has got the death sentence. It's confirmed, obviously, because she walks past the arena. I don't know, I don't have a death sentence in the UK. What the hell do you call that monstrosity that you put someone in? Arena?
No, well, not arena. That implies they're all going to be battle royaling.
Well, it's more that people will be watching and baying for blood was what I was suggesting with the term arena. But they go past the execution chamber, whatever we're calling it. You know what I mean.
The death row ward. Oh, I just said it there, death row. It's either death row or the Green Mile.
Yeah. Okay. Then we've got a brief scene with Grant, and I just loved the way this actor who plays him, I didn't write his name down, unfortunately. He's very, very good at playing the awkward teenager. And I really liked the interaction with his family in the scene, even though it was a super quick scene, really.
Yeah, a lot of good family stuff. A lot of the time we've seen the four together has been at those breakfast scenes. So this is another quick... it's a tricky scene to pull off because it's very simple and it's very short, but it's four characters and you've got to have them all bounce off each other in a way that gives a little bit more to their characters. And you're right, it does. It doesn't give any new sudden spoilers or twists or anything, but it builds up their characters just a little bit more. And the more you see them as a family, the more sadder it's going to be when eventually things turn to shit. I noticed when, I don't know if this is because I've watched too many movies set in this period or about politics and stuff, but I immediately picked up that they were dressing as JFK and Jackie when the scene started.
Yeah.
I've seen too much Mad Men to see that he was obviously wearing a 60s suit. And then, if any first wife ever wears pink, of course that's Jackie.
I mean, it's a fun little a reference for no reason other than making them be a bit dorky rather than, I don't know, Dracula and Bride of Dracula.
True, but here's the thing. Here's what I also noticed. We're going to have the president in it. Funny casting to have Devon Sawa, because Devon Sawa has already died like 3 times in this show. So it doesn't bode well for the president. Also doesn't bode well that the president dresses up as a former president who was famously murdered.
You're not wrong.
That is not a good sign when Chucky's about.
Then, an inevitability at this point, I think it's been in every series so far, The Bride of Frankenstein. There's a clip from that.
Oh, well, I do want to mark over that, but we got a little introduction. We also got one of the guests, Sarah Sherman, as Annie. You know, we got to mention her up top before her character comes into it later, but the second SNL star, Sarah Sherman, comes in.
Oh, was that Sarah Sherman? I hadn't clocked it. No wonder I ignored it and you backtracked on me when I moved on to Bride of Frankenstein. Didn't really engage with that character that much. I thought she was just there to be killed off kind of thing.
I liked her. She was fun. I think she's definitely done way crazier things, and she is a genuine horror fan. She loves Chucky. So I thought maybe they give her a little bit more. I mean, she gets a little bit more later, but I think it's a little fun role. You know, she very clearly points out that she was a theatre major before she was a nanny, so her acting is a little over the top as Mary Poppins. I like that she kept offering instances for Henry to talk about ghosts and potentially Chucky, and then she just goes off on one about all the energy and ghosts she can see.
Then we are back with Jennifer Tilly, and she's put in a special population with a TV chef called Evelyn Elliott. Now, I did check. even Elliot isn't a real chef. I think this is basically Martha Stewart, right?
I noted that, yeah. I was like, is this a little seed of Chucky nod? And of all the backstory I didn't expect to tie together, I never expected for Tiffany to meet the person who wrote the Swedish meatballs recipe she loves so much.
I think it's a nice little nod, and it's a nice little side swipe. I think it's really clever. And the maybe it's souffle line was fucking brilliant. And I've not seen Bullets Over Broadway. Have you seen Bullets Over Broadway?
No, that was the movie Jennifer Tilly got the Oscar nom for, I believe.
Yes, it was. I checked it. But it's not a film I've seen. I mean, those kind of films aren't really my bag. But maybe it is something we should put on the long list of stuff.
It is a Woody Allen film.
Oh, is it?
But I don't think it's one of his movies where he's like the main character. I think it's more just a film that he happened to direct.
Yeah, but I don't like Woody Allen.
True. But I mean, we're not...
As a person, not as a director.
Yeah. I don't know. We may be able to look at it as a Jennifer Tilly film, but I don't know. Let's look at it ahead of time. Speaking of Oscar-nominated, though, I don't even know if you picked up on it, but this actress is Nia Vardalos, the Oscar-nominated actress that did My Big Fat Greek Wedding movies.
Well, that's probably why they made the Oscar-nominated gag, right?
Yeah, but this is just... what insane casting this show is getting away with.
They wanted her, she wanted to do it. Where's the problem?
Yeah, he talks about this in an interview. I've got the quote later. Yeah, I've got the quote later because Nia Vardalos does some fucking insane stuff in this episode.
Yes, she does. We'll come to that in a moment. Let's look at the costumes. 2 slutty Chuckies and 1 not slutty Chucky, like a wholesome Chucky. Amused me immensely.
The costumes were so good. And it's never brought up, but I did wonder the fact that the White House had looked them up and had looked up their past with Chucky and the Good Guy dolls. I guess they're reclaiming, like, the power from it. But it is a little weird that they dressed up as a doll involved in murders that happened to, like, their parents.
Yeah, I mean, it is just a reference, isn't it? It's a gentle nod towards how the legend of Chucky is there, even though it's not real. I suppose it's similar to the legend of Dracula, that Vlad the Impaler was a real person, and then Dracula became a much wider reaching, fantastical version. Charles Lee Ray was a real thing, and Chucky became a widely more fantastical version in this reality, I guess.
True, but I guess if your parents were murdered by someone who thought they were a vampire, and then you dress up as Dracula...
It is a little bit on the nose, you're right.
It's never said in the episode, but I can understand it as a way of them, like, reclaiming it, you know? They're not afraid of Chucky. And they're definitely not afraid of Chucky, because I love the Jake
it's a statement, for sure.
I love the Jake line of, she'd want us to go fuck that fucker up.
And one thing I noticed in the party as well is that there were some fantastic Halloween outfits, but there were some crap ones as well. And that's what you get at a real party. It almost felt like that added an element of reality to it for me. A little weird thing that I spotted there. That's
Well, you have to imagine, you know, it's a political party as well. So I imagine a lot of them are doing what the president did and just picking a somewhat safe outfit.
And that clown, right? I knew that fucking clown was going to do something. And he did. Died.
Yeah,
it was a fucking serious plant, though. You could see that one particular character was going to be a thing. It was a bit blatant, wasn't it?
Had to try and jump scare us twice.
Yeah.
On the note of costumes still, I like the clever writing here when they go through the metal detectors and they get some sharp hairpins taken off. They got the little cable bundle taken off Jake, and then Devon goes through with the alarm, but then he doesn't seem to have anything. I thought that was going to be a setup to something, but I guess not, to my knowledge. But it definitely seemed in the moment they were going to use those items to try and catch Chucky. And I liked that. I liked that it was never said outright, but obviously them having to go through security was like an obstacle that they couldn't get over. And so already now their plans to catch Chucky are getting thrown out the window. I like the little compliment, though, when Lexi says, there goes that, my costume's ruined. And then Jake throws in the little, you always look hot.
Yeah, he's got her back. I think it is worth talking about, again, the manipulation of Grant, how necessary it is, but it is still yick. And the thing is, I think it's portrayed very well that the characters know that it's yick.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They're not happy doing it. Ultimately, yeah, they want to get away with it without hurting Grant or hurting anyone. And, yeah, I was just thinking that with that little compliment that Jake gave, it's tricky to find that balance when an episode like this is so plot heavy. You know, every little scene, something has to be happening, but we still get all these little character moments of, you know, just remembering that they're teenagers. You know, they meet the president and the first wife, and seeing these two storylines collide, I was like, oh yeah, I mean, we keep seeing them as young adults because they're protagonists, but, like, they are kids. And when you put them up against other adults, it's like, yeah, they are kids. And these adults would just treat them like normal kids, and they'd just be very jovial and casual with each other.
I think it is worth noting that Grant isn't innocent either. He is very much portrayed as the horny kid trying to get into the girl's pants. He treats Jake and Devon as, like, afterthoughts, which is what you would do if you were trying to get into someone's pants. I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm just saying that his motivations are also pretty clear as well, you know?
Yeah, I don't think what he's doing is good or bad or anything, you know, morally like that. And it's also important to look at it from the fact that he doesn't know that there's a countdown. Like, something bad is going to happen. So, it's not like he's in a rush. It's just like, oh, he's going to spend some time with Lexi, and then he'll come out and hang out with the kids after. You know, it's still just a casual night for him.
Yeah. And also in this scene, I really love the eye in the ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
It looked great with the mask, and I think, did you notice that there was a kind of Phantom-esque organ version of the Chucky theme playing when he was doing it as well? Very referential.
That organ comes in throughout the episode, and it's a really nice touch to the whole Phantom thing. I mean, the whole going about the rafters with the chandelier and everything, that's all completely Phantom of the Opera. It's just a really great pastiche.
And that's perhaps why they dropped Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, because it is directly referential to the Phantom of the Opera rather than that film, which I like more than most, about evil masks.
Yeah, it's about the costumes. Oh, just to throw in, I really like the costume of Gretchen the reporter. Very minor character. I didn't know when she was going to come back, but I like the old-timey reporter outfit. Which,
but she was
sort of
established as a character that we thought might end up being a major player. She wasn't, and then, well, the Phantom of the Opera. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
Little note here, we get to see, I presume it's the same actor, but we do get to see Joseph again. I don't know if this is ghosts, or is the president going a little bit nuts?
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's nice to be able to speculate and not actually know. I like that there's a bit of a period of time where it's like, fuck, that's a cliffhanger, because that is definitely not resolved and it's definitely not clear. And yeah, it's really good. Was it Chucky? But he saw Joseph? Or was it a ghost, or was it someone else dressed as the Phantom, and he saw Joseph, or what was it? And I love that.
Yeah, he definitely sees it again, and so there's sort of an answer to it, but yeah, it definitely seems to be setting something up, which maybe is the reason why we've not seen much of the president in the first half. That it will be almost like we're like the first wife, or we're like Grant or Henry. You know, we're distracted by other things that we're not noticing. Hang on, the president isn't really acting himself. That could be something bad down the line.
And then we go back to Sarah Sherman, her character, And she says, ghosts are bored and want to play. She's so fucking dead, was what I wrote in my notes. She does leave a gigantic fucking knife.
Yeah, she is really jinxing herself. She's really setting things up for Chucky. She gets that little spooky shot of her coming in with the knife, and then she's completely oblivious to Chucky and also Henry, the kid she's meant to be looking after. Because she just starts rambling on about all the past presidential people she's apparently seen. And then she goes off and says, let's play hide and seek, which, of course, cannot end well. No,
it cannot. So we're then back with the young adults, and I checked it. 132 rooms in the White House is accurate. And Grant, a poor sap, is what I wrote, because he's so fucking cringe.
I wrote in capitals, oh my god.
Yeah, but it feels like this is realistic. Everyone around that age is inept when it comes to, for want of a better phrase, pulling. And he's terrible, and it's funny as fuck.
It is. I think we said in episode 1, maybe it was episode 2, but Grant, we talked about the shell that Grant puts on of this indifferent, cool guy, but like, you know, he's quite distant from even his own family. And this is definitely his moment where he's like, oh, someone like me, someone who likes me. And then this is him coming out of his shell completely.
Yeah.
And it is really endearing, and it's really nice. And then it also worried me because of our Walking Dead talk, where every minor character who gets a moment like this usually isn't long for the show.
No, it's not. This scene as well, Lexi's taste in music, Dev. Don't Fear the Reaper is a great song, and they will have paid to have that as part of today's episode. Yes, Lexi.
Yeah, and once again, that really nice addition to the writing where it could have just been, oh, the writer likes Blue Oyster Cult, so let's throw in Don't Fear the Reaper. Oh, the Reaper! Watch out, because, you know, murders are going to happen. But no, she says she used to listen to them with her dad. And that's a really nice callback, you know. She still misses her parents, even as far back as season 1. It's nice to make everything continuous.
And the actor who plays her dad is in this episode as well. It's not a dad, though.
And then it also makes a natural segue into Grant opening up about his dad.
And the thing is, at various points during this scene, I wondered whether Lexi does like him. But I think later on, her facial expressions, I think she likes him as a friend, as a person, and she hates what she has to do to him. But she doesn't actually fancy him, I don't think.
It's hard to tell. Yeah, I definitely she definitely doesn't want to hurt his feelings. And I think that, I definitely think the main conflict for her is, I don't know, maybe if they spent more time together, maybe it could be a relationship, but she is deliberately rushing it. I mean, the whole her pulling him down onto his bed just so Devon and Jake could have a better look around. She knows she's giving out completely mixed signals. She's rushing it, and she's confusing him, and she doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, it's kind of grim, isn't it, really? But she's definitely got a conscience about it.
Yeah, which is what makes Lexi such a interesting character, you know, on her journey from being someone who did not care at all about other people, and now she clearly does.
Yeah, I mean, if we go back to very early Lexi, like, for example, the mockery of Jake's dad's death, she clearly didn't give a shit about who she was hurting then. And she's learned. I think it's important that we note just how much of a character development we've had with Lexi. And let's be honest, in horror films and horror franchises, because everyone is disposable, because every character is very likely to get killed, if you were going to criticise horror films, it would potentially be about character development.
Yeah. And this is good character development for Lexi, because they could have made Grant a girl and had one. I mean, well, I guess both of the boys in the trio are gay, but let's say Grant is the same, but they could have had one of the boys try to flirt with him, and that'd be a whole problem. But it makes sense for Lexi because past Lexi never had a problem with this, but now current Lexi does.
Exactly that. I think it's interesting that they talk about just how damaged they both are. And you find that damaged people do resonate towards each other. I certainly did it with my last ex. That didn't go well. That's why he's my ex. But it really resonated with me that these two people kind of reached out to each other because they were both really damaged.
Yeah.
So, then we get to see why there were voodoo dolls in the credits. And Voodoo for Dummies, voodoo dolls, and when Jennifer Tilly said chop, chop, chop as she was making Evelyn chop, chop, chop herself, I howled. Absolutely howled with laughter. The utter malevolence of someone who finds it funny to torture someone that they're killing is, it just got me. And I howled with laughter. This scene was absolutely fantastic.
Oh yeah, this was so much better than anyone could have predicted. When we saw the voodoo doll, we saw Tiffany holding a doll in some of the teasers, we assumed, the whole thing with voodoo in this series is that the soul transfer. It's Tiffany's way out of prison. She's going to put herself in a cheap DIY doll and then she's going to get out that way. But no, she is going to spend her 3 weeks. It does tie in to her escape plan eventually, but she's going to have some fun before she goes. And yeah, we have not seen this kind of voodoo. Probably the expected kind of voodoo. If you actually bring up voodoo to most people, they would say, voodoo doll, you can control someone. But we have not seen this in Child's Play since the first Child's Play.
Yes, you're right. They did use voodoo dolls in Child's Play quite significantly, and then it was dropped like a bad habit. I think that's probably because we've learnt that Don Mancini didn't really like the voodoo element of it.
No, and he's been very clear about that. And in several interviews for season 3, he has said that he is thankful for Tom Holland, the director. He's thankful for John Lafia, the other writer on Child's Play. He's thankful for a lot of the people involved in the first Child's Play for actually putting those things in, because even though he didn't agree with them, he can still use them now, and he's more open to using them now. And yeah, it totally makes sense. I'm just reading into it, but it totally makes sense that Don has managed to do so much with these characters, but at the same time, he has limited himself, in a sense, to the only kind of magic existing is Chucky goes from doll to person, or person to doll, and that's about it. And then, I think, maybe around the time when he was thinking of the idea of, I know he had the idea back for Child's Play 2, but later on when he actually did the multiple Chuckies, I think someone involved was like, is that the same spell, or is that a different spell? And I think maybe there was the very early triggerings of, there can be different spells. Chucky can do other things than just go from body to body. And we've seen examples of, that's what's so fun about these most recent ones, like with the Christian exorcism in season 2, or the magic and the aging and stuff in season 3, is that, the 35 or so years of Chucky has been based on one page of the Voodoo for Dummies book.
Yes.
And now we're actually exploring the rest of that book. And yeah, to get back to the episode, the voodoo magic in this, there's an interview where I'll go into it in a second, but where he talks about it was kind of an Evil Dead 2, Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell homage, but it's so over the top and it's so violent, and
it's wonderful.
Are equal measure laughing and also cringing. I don't know if Don is a fan or maybe one of the other writers, but it's borderline like Terrifier, especially that scene in Terrifier 2. It's that level of brutality.
Yeah, and it is an exceptionally brutal kill that is played for laughs, and I think that works so well. And, this woman did make a shepherd's pie with people. So
True,
it is kind of nice to see her get in vicious punishment, but also nobody deserves to die in that particularly brutal fashion. But it must have been a good minute, a whole minute of this woman being tortured to death.
Oh God, yeah, it's because there's the very specifics of how she hurts herself. It's a lot of self-harm. I wonder if maybe some people will find it a little too tough to watch. But I mean, even for me, it's a little tough to watch. Just the very niche damage she does to herself. Like she's like cutting her arm. It's so horrible. She's cutting it over and over and over again, and then like just the comedy beat of her putting down the knife and then picking up the peeler and then holding out her hand and then just. I think the only reason this gets away with being on TV is Nia Vidalis's acting of the really campy, over the top, just seeing what's about to happen, and she's just like, "Oh no, please don't."
It really is on the edge of what I thought we could have. You know, Game of Thrones kind of changed the game. There was some viciously brutal murders and kills in that. So, yeah, but this was borderline torture porn.
Yeah, because it's not even part of the death. The potato peeler, that isn't going to kill anyone. That's just horrible.
Yep, it is. That one made me cringe, because if you've ever cut yourself with a potato peeler, you don't fucking expect it, and it cuts fucking deep, and it shivers down the spine. Yuck.
Oh, and then like the ovens, and then just the boiling water. And we've seen some fucked up faces in this franchise, but holy shit, they went above and beyond for the facial damage of the boiling water.
Yeah.
Oh God, I mean, yeah, I've got some quotes from the interview here where he talks about some of this stuff. So this is from Fangoria. It just came out. They bring up the death from episode 3. My hat is off to you and your team because, and this is hard to qualify, it's my favourite kill of the entire franchise. And Don responds to that with, we were challenging ourselves to do that. That umbrella kill was the brainchild of my fellow writer, Amanda Blanchard, and her demented mind. I've heard a lot of people say this is their favourite kill of the franchise. That's a really important note to make. We've always tried to mention the other writers and stuff because it's not just Don's baby. And I think when we look at crazy kills like this, like the whole voodoo kill, I think a lot of us will immediately just go, oh, that must have been Don's idea, or they'll just credit Don. Absent-mindedly. And it's important to know that, these people are not just backup writers, you know? They're not just filling out character work or dialogue and stuff. They're really contributing big things like the Umbrella Kill, which was fucking awesome.
It was fucking awesome.
Now, specifically, the next question was, how difficult is it to get guest stars who are willing to get this gory for Chucky? It's happily becoming increasingly not complicated. There are cool fans like Keenan and Sarah Sherman who want to do it, which is awesome, and then there's someone like Nia Vidalis, who is a bit less expected. I think in a great way, she said herself, no one ever asked me to do stuff like this. It's this kind of crazy comedy horror, and in that scene, she's kind of channeling a Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell vibe, and she's just so great in it. It's so much fun to see this icon of the rom-com genre sucked into this insane world, and that is true, I guess. It's the same reason we saw Meg Tilly and the co-stars of Bound come back for season 2. It's just really fun to be a part of it, to have a go.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it's a lot like people wanting tiny roles in Star Wars or in Marvel. They will always jump at it because it's iconic. It's something that you can say you've been a part of.
Yeah, exactly. And it really, for an actor, it does give you an excuse to show that you can act in different genres and show that you can do stuff that no one expected of you. This kill wasn't just incredible for the effects, the potato peeler and the boiling water. We're not just complimenting the show. This whole sequence works because of Nia Vidalis. She really does channel Bruce Campbell torturing himself in Evil Dead 2. The facial expressions she makes, that really weird, robot walk she does, where
great.
She's in no control. It's a really genuinely impressive performance.
And I bet it was great fun too.
Exactly, yeah. And then, oh my god, this last question he got, who would be your dream scenario guest for future episodes? And he said, now that I've had some SNL giants, what about some Second City? Second City was a Canadian equivalent to SNL. And he said the two main stars of that, Martin Short or Catherine O'Hara.
I don't know who they are, sorry, Dev.
You don't know who Martin Short is?
No. I might do if you tell me someone he's played.
Do you watch Only Murders in the Building?
No.
Have you seen any of it? I mean, the adverts and stuff.
No.
Oh god, he's been in so much, like Father of the Bride?
What, from the 80s?
Yeah.
Oh, I probably know who he is then.
He's like the guy who helps out in it. I forget his name, but Three Amigos, have you seen that?
Yeah.
He's the guy who's not Steve Martin or Chevy Chase.
Oh, okay, that guy.
Yeah, Martin Short, yeah. He's in Only Murders in the Building with Martin Short at the moment, yeah. He's a great comedic actor. I don't know if he'd do it, because he's quite old. He's like in his 70s or late 60s now, but that'd be crazy. And Catherine O'Hara, she was in Schitt's Creek. She was the mum in that.
Oh, the mum from Home Alone?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, I'd love to see her in Chucky. Yeah, why didn't you say the mum from Home Alone? I'd have got it then.
Oh, yeah. She would absolutely eat it up. She would definitely be one of those older actresses that would eat it up. And then he also said, for a more modern guest, he said, and Janelle Monáe is also a fan.
Who's that?
Janelle Monáe, I don't want to say she was a singer before she was an actress. Did you watch Glass Onion?
No.
She was the main star in that. She's been in other stuff. I haven't seen many things that she's in. But yeah, she's a big actress at the moment. Cool. So she would be like a big guest. Like a big contemporary guest.
Cool. Let's very briefly touch on the scene where Grant discovers, at least partially, what's going on. And that must have fucking sucked. And I want to credit the actor for doing really well in that. I think, again, they've got great actors across the board in this television program. I think there's a gentle reason why they keep casting Devon Sawa, because they know they can trust him to be good. But everyone they cast seems to be great in this. Yeah,
that whole confrontation is a really great moment for all the actors involved, because like, I didn't think Chucky was going to do anything. He wasn't going to make a big public scene like that. So, predicting that he wasn't going to do anything made the tension worse in a way, because it really is the trio doing something reckless. They're showing their asses, they're making a scene, and also they're hurting Grant, and they're confusing Henry. And yeah, it's a horrible little scene for them, because like, everything is sort of going to pot, really. Yeah, there's no way that they were going to bait Chucky into doing something that reckless.
Yeah.
Even though saying that, Chucky did have a knife up behind Henry.
He did. I did clock that. Hi, I'm Joseph. Wanna play? Great. Loved it. Right, I do have a question. Is it actually possible for the White House to have a power cut? Surely they would have the backup to the backup to the backup so that didn't happen.
Yeah, I imagine realistically that's one of those things that the White House does have sorted out. It is maybe more of a horror trope that they're leaning on with this. I don't know how, in this instance, Chucky did that when he was there. They didn't actually show how he remotely set that off, like with a delay or something, but it works. It works for the moment.
Oh, it does, but here's the funny thing. Why is it that this is where I can't suspend my disbelief? It literally follows a scene where a lady makes a voodoo doll and makes another lady stab herself repeatedly, put her face in boiling water, do a funny walk, and goodness knows what else. I don't know why I pick these things out, but I do.
Yeah, it's definitely a convenient way to move things along.
Yeah, and I think I probably don't actually have a problem with it, but just occasionally I spot these things and I'm like, and I shouldn't really.
But it works though, because it's such a tense scene, you're so wrapped up in the moment of what's going to happen, how are they going to react, and then of course it moves so swiftly on into really everything kicking off, So
the chandelier?
Yeah, you aren't given a moment to breathe with that little moment.
No.
They do a great job of everything building up here with the lights out. Every character is moving around at the same time. I think at this point it's definitely signposted that the chandelier is going to be the thing. So everyone moving around in this environment, you don't know who is going to be under it when it drops. And did you think that this was going to be the moment for Devon Sawa? Because he is wandering along, isn't he? Seeing Joseph again.
Yeah.
But this is where I think it kind of, there's the reason where we can see that this Joseph has red hair and it's clearly Chucky walking around. But
yes,
he's still going, even when he walks up to the chair, he says, Joseph. So even though it's a mistake, he is seeing something that we're not seeing. So something is definitely up with the president.
I wonder if it's a bit, again, on the nose that this president takes drugs. I don't think it's that. I think it's genuinely a mental health problem, but it has been established that he smokes weed. But weed isn't a hallucinogenic. Weed is just a relaxant.
No, I don't think he had smoked it like... That is a good point to mention that. But I don't think that's the quote-unquote reason.
No. But yeah, this chandelier... It kills the clown, it kills a few other randoms, and it doesn't kill the nanny. Oh, it does kill the nanny.
Yeah, oh my god, that is certainly more than the 3 he needed.
Unnecessary nanny face death. I wasn't expecting it because we'd already had a facey death.
Yeah, a double facey death. Again, in that same Fangoria interview, I don't have the exact quote, but he talks about how... he was inspired to do the Chucky aging plotline. Well, one, he looks in the mirror. And he was inspired by that. But also, two, someone said that he does a lot of facial deaths. We saw recently with Andy taking that knife to the face. Apparently, he said that, apparently a lot of facial damage, a lot of head damage. And he sort of thought about that and interpreted it as, maybe he's thinking about, how the face changes, how the face ages. And so... I guess when he had that in mind, he was like, oh yeah, let's really fuck some faces up in this season.
Fascinating. I mean, one of the best Chucky deaths, I think it was definitely in my top 10 when we did that. The evil doctor in Curse of Chucky, where he gets his face absolutely smashed to shit with a stamping death. As we've established, also plays Lexi's dad. He's in this as someone else as well. So, it's not just Devon Sawa that's in the Child's Play franchise a lot.
Also, Nia Vardalos got an absolutely brutal facial destruction. That next level with the face rolling off. Specifically, 2 faces falling off in this episode, which is never not nasty. And I mean, also, because I thought at first, a chandelier falls on a bunch of people. That's not going to be good. But how can you extrapolate that into Final Destination levels of brutality? And we got the facial slice, which is really horrible. Then we also got the really funny Gretchen the reporter death, which is not only brutal in terms of her getting chopped in half, but also a really clever, unexpected setup and payoff of her old-timey reporter outfit. Where she takes a selfie of herself dying for the news.
Which is so fucking postmodern grim, and I love it.
And yeah, as you said, the clown, we saw him with the big pieces of glass shoved into his face. Just, they managed to stretch this out for a lot of really inventive kills.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's... clearly a reference to the Phantom, but they've very much made it their own as well. I don't think I've ever seen a Phantom with anything like this level of gore.
There was an 80s one. There was an 80s Phantom of the Opera starring Robert Englund.
What? Robert Englund was the Phantom?
Yeah. This was, when was this? 1989 it would have been. So I think it was it was just after Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and it was very much, I think it was one of the directors of, I think the director of Phantom was one of the directors of the Nightmare films, and it was very much a cash-in, he had a really messed up face in it. So it was like they were clearly aping on Nightmare on Elm Street. I haven't seen it. I imagine some of the kills are gory, but that's probably the closest to gory phantom kills.
And then we are back with Jennifer Tilly, and she antagonises Dorset until she gets her chewing gum after she spat it at her. And obviously we know now this is what she's playing for. And I love the plot line of gently twisting the abusive guard storyline to the point where the guard is going to get their comeuppance. It's whether or not this one particularly deserves it. Whilst, spitting in someone's food is pretty fucking horrible. It's the first abuse we actually see.
And also, Jennifer Tilly did murder 103 people.
Doesn't mean you can spit in a food.
True. That is very true.
But this is the first time where the character crosses the line. So far,
Yeah.
she's been hard and mean. She hasn't actually been abusive. So it is interesting that she almost attempts to force the abuse.
Yeah, it works in the whole tropey, stereotypical campiness and stuff. I want to retract that, by the way, when I said it's understandable. Like, fuck the prison industrial complex. Like, I don't want prisoners being abused or anything, but within the very silly sort of storyline they're doing, the conflict is good. It's funny.
And it explains immediately how we get Jennifer Tilly off death row, and we will touch on this in a little bit. We see that she manages it because there is a trailer for the second half of Chucky, which I'm guessing only features footage from episodes 5 and 6.
Maybe. Well, we get the setup here. We get the very start of it with the second voodoo thing, and I thought, oh my god, are they going to pack in 3 death sequences in one episode? Are we going to get the god dying in a horrible way similar to Nia Vardalos? But no, this is another kind of voodoo magic, which is unexpected, but it definitely opens things up. I don't know if this is like a story hinge, like they're using this to get her out and then we'll never see it again, or this is something that could be played with later, because now it's not just about controlling people directly with voodoo. Now it's like you can emotionally control people because she seems to cradle the doll like a baby, and that instills a devotion from the guard. Yes.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It definitely opens up potential avenues for other things that that Tiffany could do. We keep saying Jennifer Tilly, I guess, because people think there is a thing where people keep thinking she's Jennifer Tilly. Well, Nia Vardalos thinks she's Meg Tilly, and that's the start.
My sister, who's dead, I killed her.
But it should be for us much clearer now, because she does keep saying, "I'm Tiffany, call me Tiffany." And that does lead into the very funny bit, which I've seen on Twitter already, when the guard says, "Can I just call you Jennifer?" "No, bitch." Absolutely brilliant delivery from Jennifer Tilly, and I've seen the fans just loving it online.
And then we see the Damballa ritual. Chucky thinks it's worked, and holy shit, it hasn't. And I thought that was absolutely shocking to see the elderly Chucky.
Yeah, he's fucking ugly now. This is so much more beyond than what they did with the original Child's Play, with him slowly. I guess in that sense, he wasn't really aging so much. He was turning into Brad Dourif. But now, oh my god. He's gone from like Cabbage Patch Kid to just an old cabbage.
Wow, Dev. Wow. And I think one thing I did note about the whole episode is this is the first time since Child's Play 3 where it's been set in the future. Admittedly, it's only 5 days in the future from broadcast, but it is set in the future.
Yeah. And any amount of days is bad for Chucky, because
True.
it doesn't seem like he's got much left. Just we talked about the organs coming in, the whole phantom reference. It pays off beautifully here with him showing off his whole horrible phantom visage, and then the really dramatic organs playing as he the camera cranes up and he screams no. Yep. And then it could, and then it just twists back into that Chucky way, where Henry comes in, and he's like, "Oh no, are you sick again?" And Chucky's just flat out, just plainly, "I'm fucking dying."
It's great.
Yeah,
and that's about it. Have you got anything else?
Really, really satisfying episode. I think it will play. I mean, obviously, it wouldn't play any worse, but it'll play well when you binge the whole series. Like it will probably flow into episode 5 really well. I think when we were expecting the mid-season cliffhanger, we were expecting like, oh no, is one of the trio going to die, or is we were expecting a life or death kind of cliffhanger, and this is a really unexpected kind of slightly off kilter cliffhanger that I don't think anyone was expecting.
No, it's great, and it really, really works. So, on Twitter, we got to see the coming soon on Chucky. It was only 30 seconds, and it was all kind of what we expected. Jennifer Tilly gets out of prison, more of the old doll, and holy shit, Brad Dourif.
Yeah, I went through this fucking with my little magnifying glass, and I really tried to piece together as much as I could. Let's try and go through some of it. So, yeah, we got Chucky again on his maybe deathbed. Fuck me, he looks even worse.
Yeah.
He looks like Gollum. He's just turned into a little rotten baby. He's horrible. Just an incredible job from the special effects department of putting him together. Just this whole new Chucky. Really great speech from Tiff about pulling himself together, go out with a bang. I don't even know how Chucky can do that in his state, but he seems to be doing some kind of spell. After this cliffhanger, who knows what Chucky is going to be doing for the next 4 episodes.
And it's fascinating that he makes up with Tiff, which I really, really like, without wishing to go too much into my personal life. My first boyfriend from 20 years ago died recently, and that made me think a lot about, crap, I spent a lot of time with this guy. I enjoyed his company. We shared a lot of very intimate moments, and we weren't close anymore. We were still in touch, but I don't know. I wish I'd spent more time with him, and I'm genuinely interested in seeing where this storyline goes with a couple that, had their problems and broke up, but there were still feelings. Yeah, that one, just by the pure timing of it all, was pretty raw for me, and I'm really interested in this storyline because of it.
Yeah, we talked last week with Caroline. What are the emotions of Chucky, if he has any? I mean, I think he does have emotions, but they're not always the best ones. Well, we kind of thought like, oh, he takes, but he doesn't give, really. And this is a rare instance of him. Maybe part of him is hoping he can get something from Tiff, something useful that can help him out. But at the same time, I think it does seem to come across more as just he's not got much time left, and Tiff is a big part of his life, and he maybe wants to try and make sense of that.
It's interesting, isn't it?
I looked at that very brief shot of Tiffany. You said she had got out, but I did notice you do still see the bars in the background behind all of her accoutrements. So it seems very much, though, that she is queen of the prison now. And she's getting away with all these extra accessories and stuff, and her own outfits and all that. I didn't notice this. An eagle-eyed viewer managed to zoom in on her tiara. Her tiara literally says the instigator of chaos.
Brilliant. Of course it does.
Amazing. And then, we get a lot of really quick shots of her. We get quite a few shots of the president. There seems to be more ghost stuff happening because the president is terrified of like this growing blood pool in the Oval Office. And that seems to be like a vision, a hallucination that he's seeing. It definitely seems that potentially the Dumbalist magic that this could be similar to the whole Christian and Dumbala mixing together. That like Chucky doing the Dumbala magic in the White House is stirring up like old ghosts and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, this could be actual ghosts and stuff coming after the president. There's a lot of shots of things going bad with, like, Charlotte. There's 2 shots of Charlotte running down a corridor and then also pulling the sheets off her kids. And that's interesting for 2 reasons, because 1, clearly something worse is going to happen, because if they're still living in the White House after the chandelier accident, then obviously what happens next is going to be worse. But then also, she's wearing 2 outfits in those. So she's running around for one reason, and then also getting her kids for another reason. So the White House is not safe after this.
No. Well, the White House wasn't safe anyway, was it?
No, it clearly is. Well, in a weird way, it seems sort of safe, because we also see the trio still in the White House, and they're wearing different clothes. So either that is right after incident, and they've just been given clothes so that they're not awkwardly still just standing around in their costumes, or this is another day, and they have been invited back for some reason. So that's interesting to see that they haven't completely burnt their bridges with Grant.
Yeah, I think it is suggested at least that Grant learns that Chucky is a murderous real human being, doesn't it? Because he seems to be on side with them again.
Potentially, yeah. They definitely do find a body. They find that security guard who got shot in the head inside the elevator. And so it does seem to position Grant as the 4th member, which, if we think back to Nadine, there's no room for other people in this trio.
Yeah, we've always said from the start that Grant's time is soon, haven't we?
It's Grant, it's Nadine, and it's Junior from season 1.
Yeah.
The 4th wheels do not last long.
You're absolutely right.
Here's the absolutely really, really quick shots. A body maybe falls in front of Price and Charlotte, but they're in the room that Miss Fairchild died. So maybe this is a flashback to them trying to get rid of Miss Fairchild. The president is hit over the head with a vase. A full-scale prison riot is breaking out, but then the prisoners all seem to be running away in one direction. So maybe like the guards go crazy. That could be a really fun sequence where Tiffany just makes all the guards try and kill each other. That could be absolutely chaotic. Jake looks about to stab something in what seems to be Henry's room, but then Grant is at the door watching, so maybe you're right. Maybe Grant does know about Chucky, and they are trying to kill Chucky here.
You've massively analysed this. I literally went, watch once, oh, it's Brad Dourif, and then just marked out for Brad Dourif.
Well, there's some insane shots here. We do see old fucked up Chucky grappling the president onto the ground. So there's the confrontation. Something is happening there. But that could be a fake out. If they're going to show that, maybe Chucky is too fucked up. Maybe the president, a grown man, could just throw Chucky across the room.
Yeah.
And then the weirdest shot, I don't know what to expect for it, but someone outside the White House is on fire. And you can see in the background, the entrance of the White House is on fire, and coupled with the guy getting shot in the elevator, something really bad is happening to the White House. This looks like a full-on, invasion. But yeah, someone is on fire in front of the White House. I think it's probably just a security guard. I know some people on Twitter were like, oh, is that the president? Is that Devon Sawa gonna die? But I don't think they wouldn't put his death in the part 2 teaser, would they?
No, I don't think so. I do think he's going to die, though.
Oh, yeah, he's absolutely going to die. But I don't think it's going to be from the fire or even from old fucked up Chucky. I think something very unexpected is going to get Devon Sawa at this point. I mean, but then in terms of unexpected, we get that last line of Charlotte. They think they're seeing ghosts. And boy, oh boy, we do see a ghost. It is Brad Dourif. He's back. And for his age, man, he's like mid-70s. He looks fucking great.
Yeah. That was such a surprise. And I think that's the right thing, is maybe put some stuff we were expecting, but also put one absolute humdinger we weren't in your trailer. I think as 30 seconds go, holy fuckity fuck biscuits.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the whole joy of Chucky, when a season starts, when the show starts, no one knows what's going to happen. They could have said, and maybe they did, maybe it was on IMDb or somewhere, but when they announced that, Neil Vardalos was going to guest in Chucky, nobody could fucking guess that death scene was going to happen.
No.
And I don't think anybody could guess who was going to die with the chandelier death, even though that was set up in some of the trailers and stuff. It's really hard to predict this show. And with Brad coming back, what does that mean? Is he a ghost? Is he back in the flesh? How is he back? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? He seems to be smiling, so it may be a good thing. And from the background, it looks like he's either in the elevator or he's in the safe room. I think he's outside of the elevator door, but I think he's in the safe room where they go to underground. And in this world, we've had all this talk of ghosts. Do they exist? But if Chucky comes back as a ghost, what does that mean? Like, what can he do? Is that more or less dangerous?
It's exciting.
Because maybe he's been restricting himself, with voodoo. It's like, oh, you've got to do the whole chant. You've got to do it with the first person who sees you. And then if you can't do it right, then you're stuck in a fucking doll for the rest of your life. Traditionally, in other supernatural shows, ghosts can do a lot more. Like, can he just walk into someone and possess them? Like, he could be way more powerful.
It's fascinating, isn't it? And I can't wait to see it. But we're going to have to wait for a little bit longer. And that's our run of 4 episodes, covering the first 4 episodes of Chucky Season 3. What we're going to do is we're going to take a break for a week or so. And during that week, we're going to do something that's become a tradition at Chucky Vision. We're going to do some polls, get our listeners to vote on various bits and bobs for a discussion on our roundup episode. And, we'll come up with a little roundup episode for you in a couple of weeks' time, I think. And then we've got plans for November. We're going to watch Dolls, because we can. And then at Christmas, what's that bloody Christmas one you've come up with?
It's a Santa's Got Style.
Really?
It's a TV movie that I somehow managed to find because... Oh, that was it. I was looking at the actress for Miss Fairchild, Annie Briggs, and I saw that she was in a Christmas movie, and I had a look at it, and then I had a look at the main guy, the guy who plays the Santa. I didn't look into what actually the movie was about. I don't know if he's playing Santa or just a guy who dresses up as Santa, but I was like, why does that guy look familiar? And then I was like, oh fuck, that's the Hicks, the security guard from season 3 as well. So this movie...
So, yes.
We've managed to find a second Christmas movie with 2 stars of Chucky.
Hooray. It looks fucking wretched, by the way.
Yeah, but then we had no fucking idea what Rosemont was going to be like.
True, and Rosemont was great. So that's what we've got planned for the rest of the year. We've got some tentative plans for 2024, but we're not sure when we'll get more Chucky. We're going to do a listeners' poll for what you want us to cover early on in 2024, but obviously that may get postponed if there's more Chucky. We don't know when there's more Chucky, and we'll continue doing monthly specials until we do. And so thank you for joining us for this first half of Chucky Season 3. We've loved it, and we would love to hear your feedback on whether you've loved it so far as well. At CHUCKYVISION on Twitter if you want to tweet us. Or X, I suppose. Whatever. But thank you so much for joining us for this run of episodes of Chucky Vision. Stay tuned for all our extra special stuff. I've been Mark, he's been Dev, and until next time, wanna play?
Chucky Vision is a podcast brought to you by the We Made This Network. Follow us on Twitter at Chucky Vision. Follow the network on Twitter at WMT_network. Our website is WeMadeThisNetwork.com. The logo was designed by Dev, and the theme tune composed by Dark Fantasy Studios. Wanna play?
Hey guys, my name is Tony Black, podcaster and author, and I'm here to tell you about Partisan, a podcast about politics and history in film and entertainment. I'll be joined by guests as we discuss films, TV shows, and maybe a little bit more, examining political and historical topics, such as how Elvis intersects with black cultural history.
In Lerman's film, the idea of the black characters are maybe kind of they're used as catalysts to basically move Elvis forward in his career. I think that's how I saw it.
The rise and fall of Richard Nixon.
It seems to be, historians seem to agree with this, is that he was the first president that really capitalized on the evangelical vote and politicized them.
The disturbing class satire in society and much, much more. Partisan is free to download on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast app of choice, and you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter @PartisanPod. I hope you'll vote with your feet and join us on the journey.